You stopped sleeping in complete darkness about 3 weeks before it happened. That detail matters, not because it was a warning, because it means part of you already knew the strait was different this time. You are a damage control petty officer aboard a Nimitz-class carrier transiting the Strait of Hormuz. Your battle station is 3 decks below the flight deck. The space is tight enough that 2 people can't pass each other without turning sideways. You've run drills in it so many times that you move through it without thinking. That's exactly the problem. The Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. You were told that in a briefing. You were not told what it feels like to stand watch inside it. To look at a radar picture and understand, without anyone having to say it, that there is almost nowhere to go. The carrier is the largest conventional warship ever built by any nation. In the strait, it feels like a target that hasn't moved yet. Iran's Al-Qadr is a medium-range ballistic missile. You don't think about it by name. You think about it as the thing the briefings kept circling back to without fully landing on. A ballistic trajectory means it comes down nearly vertical in its terminal phase. Defense systems designed for cruise missiles, for slower threats skimming the surface, are not optimized for that angle. You weren't supposed to say that out loud. Most people on the ship didn't say it out loud, but you all knew the math. The morning it happens, you are not at your battle station. You are in the mess, holding a cup of coffee that has gone cold. Someone is playing cards. Someone else is talking about a base in San Diego. The conversation is the kind that only happens when people are trying not to think about where they are. You have learned to recognize that now. You couldn't before. The deployment changed something in your spatial awareness. You stopped measuring distance in miles. You started measuring it in response time. In the strait, response time and space meant the same thing, and there was not enough of either. The first alarm is not the one most people think of when they imagine it. It's not a klaxon, it's the ship's communication system. A voice, clipped and controlled, and the words are short enough that it takes your mind a half-second to catch up to what they mean. That half-second is the gap between training and reality. You've crossed it before. Never like this. You move. The passageway is already filling, not with panic, with speed. There is a difference. In any other moment, that difference would mean something good. For the next 8 seconds, it means everything. You were trained for carrier damage control from your first week in the Navy. The scenarios were precise. You knew the class of fire. You knew the breach location. You knew the list of steps. Training worked because it gave you a map. What you are about to discover is that the map doesn't survive contact with a hull that no longer matches its own blueprints. Then the impact happens. Not at the end of a countdown, not with a warning on any screen you can see from where you are standing. It simply happens, the way real things do, all at once and without permission. Nothing in a drill prepares you for the sound, not because it's louder than you expected, though it is, because it is a sound with weight inside it. It moves through the hull. It moves through the deck plating under your boots. It moves through your sternum before your ears fully register it. You have heard the word concussive used in briefings. You now understand it is not a description. It's an understatement. The lights go. Not all of them. Emergency lighting kicks in almost immediately, red tinted, and you have trained under that light enough that your hands remember what to do even while your brain is still assembling what just happened. The first thing your hands do is wrong. You reach for a handle that is bent. The frame around the hatch has warped. This is the first moment you understand that the ship has been structurally changed. Not sunk, changed. There is a difference, and right now, you're not sure which one is worse. Smoke is the immediate problem. Not fire, not yet. Smoke. It comes from somewhere aft and above, and it travels faster than you expect through a damaged ventilation system. You are trained to seal compartments. You start doing that. You are also aware that sealing compartments means that if someone is on the other side of that seal, they are on the other side. You don't stop moving. You will think about that later. You will think about it for a long time. The secondary fires start within minutes. The hangar bay, where aircraft fuel lives in systems that were designed to be isolated, but have, in the chaos of structural damage, not stayed isolated. Your team reaches the hatch to the hangar bay, and the heat on the other side of the door tells you everything before you open it. You make a call. The call is correct. It is also the kind of correct that doesn't feel like anything except weight. Somewhere above you, on the flight deck, aircraft are burning. You know this not from sight, but from the way the deck above your head has changed color. Heat conducting through steel. You were not told about that in any drill. Nobody mentioned that the overhead could become an indicator. Now you know. You also know that people are up there. You have eaten meals with some of them. You know their names and their habits. You don't let that image finish forming. You put it somewhere and close the door on it. That is a skill nobody taught you. You developed it in real time. 3 hours into it, you find out about the casualties. Not through official channels, through the faces of people coming back from parts of the ship you haven't reached yet. There is a specific expression that trained people wear when they have seen something that broke the category they had for it. You have been on the ship long enough to read faces. You read them now. You stop asking questions out loud. Your team contains the fires in your section. That is a true thing. It is also a true thing that the ship cannot recover from this at sea. It is being moved, slowly, under its own damaged power and with assistance, toward waters with more room. The Strait does not offer room. Every decision being made above you right now involves geometry that does not favor the ship. You are not part of those decisions. Your world is the passageway in front of you, the hatch that needs to be sealed, the gauge that needs to be read. There is a mercy in that narrowness, and you feel it without being able to say it. You think about a phone call you didn't make before the transit. Your father asked you how the deployment was going. You said fine. You said it was boring. You said it because saying anything else would have required explaining the briefing about the Strait, the conversations nobody had out loud, the cold coffee, and the card games that were really just silence in a different shape. You said fine because belonging to this ship meant not exporting the weight of it to people who couldn't carry it with you. That was the cost you didn't name until now. By the time the ship reaches deeper water, 12 hours have passed. Your section is contained. You have done your job with a precision that will appear in after-action reports. The reports will use words like effective and timely. They will not use words like the handle that was bent, or the faces coming back from the aft sections, or the moment you learned that correct decisions and good outcomes are not the same thing. You will be debriefed. You will say the right things in the right order. You have been on this ship long enough to know what the right things are. You will not mention that you stopped sleeping in complete darkness 3 weeks before this. You won't know how to explain that your body understood the Strait before your rank gave you permission to say it. That is a gap that doesn't close. You will discover this slowly. The thing about the Al-Qadr is not the missile, it's not the trajectory, it's not the warhead. The thing about it is that it ends the argument you were carrying quietly for months. The argument that said the drills were sufficient, that the systems were layered, that the geometry of the Strait was a known risk being managed. The missile doesn't destroy that argument with fire, it simply resolves it, permanently, without asking your opinion. You are still on the ship when the sun comes up. The flight deck is cleared of what it can be cleared of. There is a smell in the air that you do not have a word for and do not want one. You hold a new cup of coffee. This one is also cold. You drink it anyway because it is something to do with your hands while you stand at the edge of what used to be routine and look at where routine ends. Nobody on this ship will say they were not trained for this. They were trained for exactly this. That is the quietest, most specific thing the night has taught you. You were trained for exactly this, and it happened anyway, and you are still here. And that is either the best possible outcome or the beginning of something you haven't named yet. You think it is probably both, and you already know it's not something you'll explain to anyone who wasn't here. The cold coffee, the dark room, the bent handle, these are yours now.